Animal cruelty. The greatness of a nation can be judged by the way its animals are treated. Mahatma Gandhi. Animal testing is any type of scientific test or experiment in which a live animal undergoes anything that could potentially cause them suffering, distress, lasting psychological or physical harm, or even death. The process of testing on animals is most often cruel and unnecessary and could be bypassed if companies were willing to seek alternative testing methods. I will begin by talking about how the test animals are treated. Then I will talk about how animal testing does not always provide helpful results. And finally, I will talk about cruelty-free companies and their alternatives to animal testing. Animals of the world exist for their own reasons. They were not made for humans. Alice Walker. Animal testing is very cruel, as the animals are treated completely inhumanely and often result in the death of a test animal. According to 2007 research animals, over 100 million animals, including cats, dogs, mice, monkeys, rats, and pigs, are used for research in American laboratories each year. These animals are subjected to almost constant torture at the hands of the scientists working in the labs. Usually, after the experiments, if the animal does not die during, they will kill it. According to the 2018 Humane Society article, Examples of Animal Suffering, a U.S. military facility exposed a pig to lethal amounts of radiation. The pig did not want to stand, showed signs of organ failure, and was seen with his snout completely immersed in a bowl of water. The pig died before he could be humanely euthanized. At Charles River Laboratories, 3 dogs were forced to ingest a substance for testing. The dogs became cold to the touch, and it became hard for them to breathe. One of the dogs died before the other 2 were euthanized. Don't treat animals as animals, treat them as living beings. That's what they are. Anthony Douglas Williams. According to the 2018 PETA article, Experiments on Animals, a majority of drugs experimentally tested on animals rarely translate to humans, and caution is still advised in human use. Animals are artificially injected with diseases they would never catch on their own, such as mice developing tumors as large as their bodies. The artificial diseases in these animals are never identical to the naturally occurring ones in humans. The former National Cancer Institute director, Dr. Richard Klausner, said, "We have cured mice of cancer for decades, but it simply did not work in humans." Another example is AIDS vaccines tested on monkeys. 85 of these vaccines have prevented the primates from contracting these diseases, but none of them have worked in humans. Even the FDA has said currently 9 out of 10 drugs fail in clinical studies because we cannot accurately predict how they will behave in people based on laboratory and animal studies. Humanity's true moral test consists of its attitudes towards those at its mercy, animals. Milan Kundera. There are many companies whose products are still FDA approved, such as Lush and Bath & Body Works, that do not test on animals. There are many other cheaper and more effective ways to conduct research without the use of lab animals. According to the 2018 PETA article, Alternatives to Animal Testing, there is what they call in vitro, which is where human cells and tissues are artificially grown specifically for the purpose of research, such as Harvard Weiss's Institute organs on chips, which have been proven to be more effective than animals. There are also in silico, where computer models and realistic dolls are used. Dolls like the Trauma Man, which very accurately replicates a human torso that bleeds and has internal organs. It is said that Trauma Man is a more effective way of practicing procedures than cutting into animals. For cosmetic companies, there is the option of raw material testing or controlled human use testing. When humans act with cruelty, we label each other as animals, yet the only animal that displays cruelty is humanity. Anthony Douglas Williams. I began today by telling you about how cruel animal testing was. Then I explained how animal testing is not really all that beneficial to humans in the long run. And finally, I told you about some companies that do not test on animals and what they do instead. Animal testing in all its forms is inhumane and unnecessary. It shows a level of cruelty only humans are capable of, and most often does not even yield viable results. There are many ways you can fight against animal testing. Even if you stop supporting just one company who is not cruelty-free, it can make a world of difference.